All right, guys, welcome back to the recap of the Summer of Climb competition hosted by Jackalopefest and Arc'teryx in Boston. Welcome back, Tyler, and welcome back our special guest, Ross Fulkerson, the first place finals winner in the men's category at the competition. How's it going, Ross?
It's going well. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for joining us. Joining us from wherever he can. He's in this very busy schedule, which is really, really cool.
I got a
Um,
early morning, was going to the beach to do a little swimming and reading. So
That's right, because you're on the West Coast right now.
yeah,
Already done. Nice. Yeah. I wish I had that schedule. I can just, jet set. All right. So just kind of getting into the competition. This is part of a series. I guess there's 4 stops to the Summer of Climb tour, and it's kind of hopped around. So this one stopped in Boston, and we got the call to live stream it, which was super awesome. And also got to compete as well. I feel, just to kind of update you all on my training that Tyler's been beating up on me on. The training actually did really well. I know my scores don't show it. I actually placed lower than Xavier, which Xavier's, he's going to he's never going to let me let that one down. But I actually came out climbing really strong. I was actually really busy as well. I probably only climbed for an hour and a half, not because I didn't have the endurance or whatever, just simply because this was a great networking opportunity for me. And a lot of people are starting to recognize the channel, a lot of conversations, that's how, I ended up here with Ross, just talking, we were talking shop, right? Talking cameras, we were
yeah,
both rocking the same exact camera there. And, when it comes to camera nerds, you got to talk about your equipment. And then, just a lot happened around there, but I did get the climb. I climbed really well for the climbs I did get on. I was really upset that I did not get to climb more, but I'm really excited for what's coming up next in the future. I'm really feeling good overall. All the little things that we've been working on have been, it's really good to feel great on the wall again. So thank you very much for that, Tyler. And then just from a citizen standpoint, this gym, I've actually been to the Bouldering Project before, and it was originally Brooklyn Boulders. It's been about 10 plus years since I've been there, and the walls are just fantastic. They actually did add a top out section. I don't know if you knew that whole island is top out. Actually, that wasn't part of the qualifying, was it, Ross? Right? You only had the slab.
yeah.
Yeah. So everything was along the wave wall, the nice, beautiful wood bouldering section, and then there's one really sketch slab that they had as part of the qualifying for the open competitors, but the citizens got to use essentially the entire gym, and really well spread out, great climbs for everyone, and the scoring was interesting. So that was actually one of the things that you didn't have in finalists, which I thought would have been even interesting. But from a citizen standpoint, it was, the climbs were numbered 1 through 64, I think it was. And every attempt you make, it actually deducts, it was like a 100-point scale. So you would deduct, I think it was 100 points from your score. So essentially after 5 attempts, or even after 3 attempts, 64 could be like less than 62, right? So it was an interesting format that they went at. For people who are, really, really into trying hard, I think that was a good motivation to say, move on to another climb and stop projecting here during the competition, which is, of course, something you shouldn't do from a citizen standpoint. And then, just getting into that, I thought that was really clever, a nice little addition I've never seen that before. Have you guys experienced that before?
That was old school. Back when it was ABS, when I was competing in high school, you would lose 10 points per attempt. So
Yeah.
I guess that they're throwing it back a little bit.
Yeah, that was
Interesting.
I felt that it was good, number one, because I've been to comps where literally this one person would just grind this one climb, and or it would cause a lot of congestion, and then eventually, like after 3 or 4 attempts, people would actually move on to something else, a lesser climb, at that point, and then come back for that if it made sense. So I thought that was kind of clever, and I think that should come back elsewhere. But Citizens was good. I thought it was really well set. Really a lot of fun climbs, and like I said, even though I didn't show it, I did perform really well. But enough of the Citizens climbs. Let's talk about why people are here. We're here to talk about finals, which had an even more interesting format that we've kind of seen before. So we'll kind of talk about that. So, like, thoughts? Anyone? What do you guys think of the final format going into that?
I thought it was pretty fun. I'm all for getting a little bit experimental and just testing out different formats. I think it's definitely really valuable to play around with different ways to keep like the crowd engaged, and also like as an athlete it's really fun to try and learn kind of the strategies behind different techniques or different formats. And it wasn't too different from like a strategical standpoint until the very last boulder, which we can get into later if you guys want. But otherwise, it was just like do the climb same as normal, pretty like similar to like a World Cup format. And then just for that last boulder, we decided before we started the finals that we would basically. Oh, should we do like a little recap for the people to understand what the full format was?
Yeah,
it might be helpful.
Totally get into that.
Okay. Take a step back. The format was first two boulders, right? There's 5 people in finals. Everyone does the first 2 boulders, just a normal World Cup round. So everyone's in ISO, one person goes out, you have 4 minutes. And they were doing guys and girls side by side, which I think is great. And maybe the World Cup should do that as well, just because there's a bit more action. Yeah. So you do the first 2 boulders like that, and then the 2 people with the lowest scores across those 2 climbs are dropped. And then, actually, it was just one person dropped. No, it was 2.
It was 2. I think it was 2.
It was 2, then 1.
2 and then 1.
Yeah, to get to the final 2.
Okay. So then 3 people move on to the third boulder. Everyone, or those 3 people do that one, same format. And then the person with the lowest score of those 3 across all 3 boulders, not just that third boulder, is dropped. And then for the final boulder, it was just head to head. So before the finals started, we decided that we would basically forget about the first 3 boulders completely. And it's just a head to head format on the last boulder where you go attempt for attempt. So they did a couple comps like this in Japan that were really fun to watch. And I kind of suggested it before the finals. I'm like, why not? If it's just 2 people, like we might as well just make it head to head. Because I think it keeps it pretty interesting for the crowd and is a different kind of experience from an athlete standpoint as well. The only downside is that you risk basically, so I was in the finals against Adam, and I had done the first 3 boulders in like considerably less attempts. But if he had beaten me on the last one, he would have won the whole competition, even though if you looked at like the full score of the 4 climbs, he wouldn't have. Right. So there's a little risk there, but just for a local, for fun comp, I think it made sense. But the pressure was really, really on me on the last one because I was ahead going into the last one. I could decide whether I wanted to go first or whether he would go first. And then the first person that tops it wins, and then the other person, it just doesn't matter if you have the time to finish it or not. We just said whoever tops it first wins. So I told him to go first because the climb looked pretty difficult and I wanted to get some beta, and he ended up flashing it.
Yeah. Huh? So you did get I wasn't sure if you were watching him climb it or if you were facing out to the crowd. So you were just watching, just absorbing beta, huh?
Yeah, so that's definitely like part of the game that I think I made the right decision. It puts a lot of pressure on because I'm objectively more likely to flash it after seeing him do it. It just comes down to like how hard the climb is, and if it was really, really hard, then maybe you want to go first actually, because then you have kind of like that first shot to do it. So.
Yeah, no, I thought that was interesting because, when CC came out, when they started the climb 4, CC comes out and Pete's like, "Where's Adam?" And then CC's like, "We're doing it this way." And it was just, really great to see that, the climbers actually dictate how that was going to go down. It was just like, wow, okay. And then she's like, we're gonna do it like this and like this and like that, like that. And I'm like, wow, okay. And then, but Pete's like, all right, well, we got to rock paper scissors for the, for who goes first, over, for the female climbers. And I thought that was
Yeah.
kind of a really cool moment to see that, the flexibility in the organization to be like, okay, let's do what the climbers want to do, and it actually wound up being a really cool format, a really cool spectacle, and
I could spend quite a bit of time just talking about that last boulder between you and Adam, because I think I'm always super interested in performance, and I know from your videos you're big on attaining like flow state and mental performance and being able to rise to that level of pressure. Is that like, knowing that that is a huge interest of yours and a strength of yours, is that part of why you decided to have Adam go first? Because it sounds like it was you who decided Adam first. Is that?
Yeah. I think okay, before the finals, we said that like whoever was ahead going into the last boulder could decide who they wanted to go first. So I think Kylie could have just decided that, but maybe she forgot. So yeah, I told him that he should go first, with like kind of the confidence in the back of my mind that even if he did flash, I thought I would be able to like have a better shot at flashing after watching him, even with like the added pressure. So yeah, I was really proud of that attempt actually, because it was not a foregone conclusion. And it was definitely one of those situations where you're like, okay, like just forget about everything else. Like the crowd is right there. Like it was a very kind of like intimate space with a lot of energy, So I took the time to brush the holds really well, chalk up, and like kind of attacked the climb on my own terms. And that was kind of my intention for all of the climbs, is like they didn't look super hard or complicated. So just having really quality attempts, and I was psyched that it paid off, and I think I just had one fall for the whole finals round, which was nice.
Yeah, man, it was a great round. Awesome to see. On that last boulder, when you flipped into, I think it was the zone hold, like the catch on the volume. Yeah, I saw it and I was like, oh, he's hosed, and like, World Cup athlete made it work
for a second.
Yeah, dude, it was scary to watch. I was like, no. Even though Adam is a friend of mine and I want him to win, like I was like, oh, come on, pull through.
Yeah, I know. I think that format with like a more showy boulder, like some dynamic like paddle type thing where you are going head to head, would be super fun to watch, because then you're watching one another get closer and closer, and like I don't think the setting was necessarily like showcased that kind of head to head style great. Yeah, but there's definitely potential.
The female had that dynamic move in it. Yeah. I mean, but still like amazing just watching, because I was able to watch it from multiple angles because I had all the cameras going, and it was just really just great to just watch the patience that both of you exercised on that climb. Because I know for sure I would be full on panic mode from the second I pulled off. And you both spent considerable amount of time on that climb, and I remember watching Adam actually hesitate on the big move right, and then really adjust and say like he needs to get this. He's like, I got to put the pressure on. And then, you to kind of follow suit with the same exact, mentality, just really perfect positioning, perfect throws, and everything was on point, so even though it wasn't a showy, maybe from a non-climber standpoint, just from a spectator standpoint, from a climber watching you guys climb that was a workshop on execution, and I really appreciated that. Gosh, that. And then, like, speaking of execution, just, even we completely skipped the whole qualifying round. We didn't even talk about qualifiers, which was, equally as there was some really great climbs. And I didn't get to see you climb the hand jam one, the one that was on the overhang that was in the kind of same area. Like, how did you go about that? How did you attack that climb? Because I'm looking at you had essentially 2 attempts on your top 5 climbs, each climb, I'm guessing at average, right? You had 10 attempts total, right? So like, how did you get through that so quickly, watching everyone else's struggle on that? What was
the hand jam one wasn't too bad for me. I've been in Yosemite for a good bit of time this year. Not a good bit, but like a couple weeks combined.
Okay.
And that crack just like fit my hand really well, where like I could comfortably just like hold it with one arm, and like I basically did like a little coordination move off of it, where I was like hand jammed here and then got my swing going, and then came, slotted this next one in, and then went out to the pocket.
Got it. Yeah, I think that's
which
well,
was super fun.
Yeah, I was looking at that and I was like, that could be potential if someone can get the hand jam right. But everyone was jamming every single limb they could into that crack,
Yeah.
or bypassing. I think eventually the beta break was just kind of like a kipping swing.
Yeah.
pack
No, that
to-
move was really cool.
yeah,
I thought that was like probably one of the coolest moves of the comp, at least on the men's side, was
There's
that
also the beta
the-
break right left that you
on
you
12, yeah.
and Charlie did on 12. That I'm sure the setters went home crying after that one. That
A
was
little
kinda
bit,
crazy.
but it was still quite difficult. So I didn't feel too bad. But
Yeah.
basically, for those who haven't watched the video yet, it was like number 12 was by far the hardest climb, like this power endurance, kind of crimpy, overhanging block. But you could barely, after a couple attempts, jump from like the second move out to this other set of volumes, and then just climb up the volumes to the end. So definitely one of the more prolific beta breaks I've done. But the other way felt pretty doable as well. It was just like objectively the way to conserve energy. And I thought my qualifiers round was actually not pretty sloppy, but I had a lot of unnecessary attempts. Well, not a lot.
It wasn't a lot. I mean, two
but-
each you were looking at, right? Two average.
Yeah, I slipped off the slab like 3 times, which was kind of annoying. Or I had like one first go that my foot just picked, and then I kind of rushed just hopping back on it. And then I was like, okay, like give the climb the respect it deserves, and I went and got my other shoe that was a bit stiffer for the really tiny foot jib. It was one of those little Technic ones that has the Dual Text logo like exactly where you want to put your foot,
Right.
which is always annoying. But yeah, so that one took me an extra attempt, and then that one took me I had 3 falls on that, and then 1 fall on 12 and 1 fall on 9, which was the pretty cool like double toe hook Cordo jump thing.
Yeah, the Cordo.
I like that move as well.
Super core. Yeah, I felt like watching everyone kind of do it. It just seemed like it didn't fit anyone's box until it did. Right? It was like just super core. Really, really pull that in to hold it, and then getting out of that was even like more because you have to clamp down and then keep from swinging. That was a really spicy move.
Yeah. I hadn't done exactly that move before, so it was fun to play around on it.
And you got a second try. Never done it before. Worked it out within 2 tries. And there are people that are still trying it right now, I'm sure. They came back and they're still grinding on that damn climb. But that was a really cool climb.
Just from the recap perspective, I just want to throw in who ended up qualifying for finals. So on the women's side, we had Marielle Hortzman, who is the only name on the list that I don't recognize. So if anybody wants to give some background on her, I would love to hear it. But then we had Sienna Perez, Cece Koff, Helen Gillette, and Kylie Cullen. And then on the men's side, we had Adam Shahar, local legend, Matt Rodriguez, Charlie Barron, Ben Kim, and yours truly, Ross Fulkerson. As with every comp in 2024 stacked finals, I don't think there's any comps left where it's like the people can just kind of roll up and make finals anymore. There's too much talent going around. And I think, Ross, you're like, I don't know how many times you've competed here in the Northeast now, but like it's starting to stack up. Somebody coming from the West Coast, somebody who's kind of climbed all over the world at this point. I'm curious how you're feeling about sort of this Northeast scene, where I think we're a little bit of an underdog situation. But yeah, do you like competing up here?
Yeah, it's been super fun coming out east, and definitely there's a lot of strong folk. I think there've just been way more competitions on the East Coast that are like happened consistently. So in that regard, there's definitely a stronger crew of like finalist competitors, maybe. At least in these like local ones. I think for like youth comps and more like traditional like USA climbing comps, the West Coast is still like has a really, really strong crew as well. But all these like local comps are super fun, and definitely not a guarantee that you're gonna make finals at all. Like the method comp was like that, and you're definitely kind of grinding to make finals. And then for personally, I feel like more comfortable in like a final situation, where I think the boulders are maybe a bit more my style, not even style, but less varied in like someone. Yeah, I don't know. They're just like more thought out boulders, maybe, where there's like less. Yeah.
I think that something that I've been thinking about is what gets tested in the qualification round versus what gets tested in finals. And so like if they have a bunch of power boulders in the qualification and then everything is coordination slab in the finals, like do they have the best climber, like as the level gets higher and higher, right? Like it's an interesting question for the setting team. Like how much variety do you want to test during the qualification?
For sure.
Yeah. In this round, do you feel like the people who won the people who qualified were the ones who were best suited for the finals boulders?
I
guess that requires knowledge
so.
of who didn't qualify, but like was the style of setting representative of what would be tested in finals, I guess is the question.
I think the qualifier definitely favored a more, well, like there's only one hard boulder and that was like very power endurance-y, like crimp block, and that wasn't tested in finals at all until the third boulder, or sorry, until the fourth boulder. Right. So in that respect, not really. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like I think, like you need to be a well-rounded climber. But I think for making finals, having an emphasis, like usually the hardest block in the qualies round is like a more powerful, straightforward climb for whatever reason. I don't know why that's like consistently the case. But I think they try and save like the really sick Cordo moves for finals maybe. Yeah. So they don't put that in the qualifier round. But maybe that's worth doing if you're going to be testing that in the finals.
Yeah, I mean, because like when you think about it, there really wasn't a slab in the finals for men's. The women had a really, really sketch slab, but the men's slab was just that
slab was really good. I thought that was the best finals boulder.
So climb one,
women's slab,
women's slab. Got it.
I did it afterwards, and I fell off the start a couple times, and then I was being bad, but it was a really good, like definitely made me think the most of any of the moves. Yeah, trying to do like the little foot switch, and then the little no hands top was fun. You could do it actually just no hands without the other two volumes or the other two holds.
Okay.
And just fully stand up and then go straight to the finish, which was kind of fun.
Yeah, no, it definitely wreaked a lot of hamic for the women as they were just trying to get to the zone. You know, that was really interesting to watch. What I would think I know as really good slab climbers really struggle with that. I don't think no flashes on that, right? Or no, I think Cece might have flashed it.
Cece flashed. She crimped the screw hole on the start. No shadow. Right. Which it worked so nasty. For her. But the holds were not good. Like it was quite hard to stay on those feet. Yeah. Which is always a fun challenge.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And like speaking just of one, but from the men's side, I watched the setters setting that and testing the toe hook catch for the top, and it was really crazy to watch. I think three, like it was Adam, Ben, and someone else didn't even see the toe hook as an option and just simply cranked and held that and stopped that, and then to watch, because actually none of the setters actually got the toe hook to work, and eventually they're just like, they'll get it, someone will figure it out, and then watch you and Charlie knocked out the toe hook, and it looked perfect when both of you did it.
Yeah,
But
no, it was a really good position. You just have to be intentional about where your hips are going to be so you don't barn door overshoot it.
yeah, and the fact that you read it that way and then executed it perfectly, then see that, you know, multiple other finalists just wasn't even an option. They were just like, I'm going to just crank on this non-existent hold, and they made it work. You know, the ones that made it work. It was really impressive to see that.
Yeah.
But
Were the setters for the first move doing like the 1, 2, 3, or just jumping like we did?
yeah, jump exactly like you did, but they just
Okay.
They didn't stick it.
they didn't stick it. It was actually
I'm thinking
quite
for the first move, there was like another foot on the
oh,
right
it's coming
side
down
of
the corner.
For the very first move on the first climb, there was like the start hold, and then like a
Right.
big ramping foot, and then there's also a foot on the right, and it
Yeah.
looked like they wanted you to go like step up high left foot and then jump off the right one and then go over. But
yeah.
I think almost everyone just went like straight up to it. But
Yeah, I have some footage of them failing on that. I'll throw it up for people to see what they actually did. I don't remember how they were going about it, but it was actually quite comical watching them. You know, I mean, that's a big fall. You know, they were really trying for it, and they were just, you know.
yeah,
Yeah. But it's interesting, you know, from a setter standpoint, having been in conversations with a lot of setters, all you know, and a lot of times they set climbs that they can't top. You know, they can't do the moves, and I'm like, well, how do you know it's gonna be done? They're like, they're strong. They'll figure it out. Someone will get it, and it's they know it's doable. They know it's within the realm of of possibility, and they just let the strong climbers take.
yeah. No, it's a hard job, like having to aim for that not super specific
right
zone. Like, there's no. If you're not doing the moves, it's very difficult to know exactly how hard it actually is.
Yeah.
One thing on those first boulders was that I noticed was that the dynamic moves of men's one were kind of stacked over the start of women's one, and as I was watching, I kept getting nervous that there was going to be a landing. Maybe it was further apart in person, but
no, it was close.
It was close. no, it
I
was
mean,
dangerous.
so like I was thinking before, the intended beta should put you like the men nowhere near falling on because they would be leaning back and trying to kick the tension. But and people were doing not intended and then actually, stepping across. So that made it a little sketchy. And like that, once again goes into the setters like, oh, someone will figure it out, not thinking that someone will actually be strong enough to just crank on that and hold it. And I think that's actually a possibility. So, unexpected with these strong climbers.
yeah. I was going to ask Ross, the tarps off for Boulder 4, was that for the sponsors? Was that just because it was hot in there? You and Adam both coming out?
Yeah, it was getting warm.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
I think it's yeah.
Yeah, sponsors like it too. Why not?
I guess so. Yeah.
Cool. If I can keep following a line of questioning with you, Ross,
For sure.
All of my team kids absolutely love your videos. Every time one drops, they talk about them during practice. So thank you for everything you're putting out.
Of course.
That's
cool to hear.
So valuable for the team kids, especially when you talk about mental performance. And anyway.
I appreciate it. That's fun to hear.
Yeah, for sure. For people that are, let's call them like, I always say like Gen Pop, like recreational climbers, adults who are like interested in competing, because I think in the Northeast we don't have as big of like the high level scene. We have like USAC kids, we have like the pros that are in finals, and then we have like a lot of adults that fill out the rest of the bracket. Is there something that you would a piece of advice you would give them to focus on for like getting ready for this fall? Because we do have a lot of competitions in the Northeast, like you said, and a lot of people will kind of compete every weekend and have a chance to keep improving. Like, is there something they can do?
That's really cool. Yeah, I think it's as simple as just having specific goals. Like, think about what you want to get better at and bring attention to that consistently. Like, it sounds trivial, but it really makes a huge difference. And I've talked about this in a lot of like my videos, but incorporating that into your warm up. And if it's, you want to get better at dynamic movements, then spend some more time in your warm up, getting like snappy, warming up the engagement, and then go like seek out climbs that test that for you. And then like the next kind of concept is just having like that challenge skill ratio be appropriate, where you want to be trying moves like to maximize like your learning and how quickly you can progress, trying to climb that's just at that right ratio where it forces you to think and like execute at a slightly harder level, but it's still very much doable. And I think a lot of times people get caught up in like the ego side of like, oh, I need to do this really hard climb or blah 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 blah, but it's just objectively way more efficient to go learn the move at like a V0 level and then scale it up progressively. And that's what I do like in my warm up every single day is I'll do my full off the wall warm up, be like physically like V12 plus warm before I even put my shoes on or anything. And I'll go on to like V0 only and just climb that super, super well, because that's my intention, is to climb it really flowy and precisely and like confidently. And for the first climb that I get on the wall, like it needs to be that level so I can actually execute those goals.
Awesome, man.
Yeah,
I can't wait to show that to my team kids. And
it was funny because I watched your official like warm up video, and I was looking, I looked at the time like an hour long. This is gonna take,
but like with some like talking as well, though. So
I know, but it was just like, oh my god, an hour. But I mean, there were so many great gems in that video. But it really does go into the patients, like they're really warm up to, people who can climb at V12 or just where we're looking to be. It does take time, right? Totally. And that was it was just funny to hear you say that, but also kind of was one of the things I learned from watching that video.
Yeah, and I think that video, it could be called like warm up and like training routine, because half the stuff in that is going beyond like the purely getting warm standpoint and into the like I'm improving this aspect and kind of trying to bring more attention to this like area of weakness.
And like, not to get too on my soapbox about intelligent programming, but like that is a really great way for people to improve on some stuff, is if there are things that you can work on in your warm-up that will help you in your session instead of taking away from it, that's a great time to put it into your training.
100%. And that's like what's going to allow you to be the most consistent with it as well.
And actually get you to warm up. Because I think if everybody warmed up, the world would be a lot less injured place.
No, it's crazy. Yeah. Like, what's the point of climbing? Like, you want to be climbing like at a high level and like executing well. So you should take the extra 20, 30 minutes to get warm, so a higher percentage of your climbing is high quality. Like, it, especially for competitions, like this is what I've been telling a lot of people and is very much my own philosophy, but like before a big competition, I want like 100% of my attempts for like 2 weeks to be like the highest quality they can possibly be. And that way during the competition, you climb like yourself, right? There's no reason to think that you're going to climb differently during a competition than you are in practice. So why would you practice any differently than you want to compete? And again, like a pretty simple concept, but it takes a lot of discipline to actually practice that way and kind of follow through with that.
Yeah. No.
Massive. And for the like, Gen Pop that competes every weekend in the Northeast, like, for people that are coming after work and like getting their, 3 sessions in when they can, because like the kid didn't have the recital this week, whatever, like everybody wants to just go and climb, but if you have specific goals and you want your body to feel good, like spend that time warming up. Like it's an equal part of what you can enjoy.
For sure. And that doesn't mean you're not going to have a fun session. It's like, for me, it's a way more fun session, because then the second I get on the wall, I'm climbing super, super well. And you don't have that like the laggy gross feeling when you if you hop just straight on the wall, you're moving terribly and you're just reinforcing bad habits. So I always when my friends get straight on the wall and they're climbing, and I spend an hour on my warm up and then come and just flash their, like whatever they're trying. I'm like, I told you, it's like it is way more efficient in the long run.
Yeah. One of the things I try to stress to my team kids as well is like playing around in the warm up, and like something you do in all of your videos is you're always creative in what you're doing. I show people the clip of you like on the rower, like pulling up over your head and with one arm and all these different positions, and just like there's no like programming that to be optimal. It's just like something that you're playing with to like have fun and get warm, and like playing around with it is super fun and adds to an even more fun session.
Totally. And like climbing is a very unique sport where every climb we're doing is a unique problem, and like kind of makes sense that you would want to warm up using and playing around with like different movements, because that's what you're being tested on the wall. And that's especially true from like a competition standpoint, and an ISO for competitions where you don't have great preset climbs to warm up on. Like you have to be super, super creative. And there's been World Cups where all you have is a super tiny spray wall with a bunch of like super old holds on it, and being able to warm up, just like have a ground warm up that gets you ready for like coordination World Cup moves is pretty challenging. But once you find it, like that's going to be way more consistent than trying to warm up on that really poor little spray wall.
Yeah. Your video of you like jumping on the foam roller in ISO, I love.
Yeah,
it's rad.
That's
my
a good
team
one.
kids got mega psyched on that.
Any broken ankles yet?
No rolled ankles. I had to ban skateboarding from the team, but like
you had to what?
I had to ban skateboarding for my team kids. Too many of them got hurt skateboarding, but
that's fair.
No broken ankles on the foam roller.
Nice. Good to hear.
So another question I had for you, if I can keep picking on you, is you're somebody who competes in a lot of different formats. Obviously, you go from like locals all the way to the World Cup scene. Is there, let's say, like I know you mentioned side by side men's and women's in the World Cup, but is there anything from sort of like the World Cup level that you wish local comp organizers were putting into play?
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, yeah.
That's a good question. Not too much. I feel like if anything, it's vice versa. Like, I feel like World Cups are a great test for the athletes, but not always the most interesting for the spectators. There's just a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
And like personally, I enjoy watching like semifinals round way more. Not way more, but like if I'm going and like watching a replay of a comp, I'll usually watch like the semifinals first, and it's just more to learn from that, I think. But yeah, honestly, I think just experimenting around with new formats would be really fun to see at like the IFSC level. And actually I was talking with some of the setters at this comp in Boston about this, but the current format makes it very, very difficult for the setters, and honestly for like the audience to appreciate the difficulty of the climb, because there's no precedent. Like no one's ever done this climb before. No one's going to ever do it again. So it's kind of hard. This is something my coach Al has talked about a lot. So sorry, Al, if you're watching this and think I'm stealing it.
He's off to coach the Olympics right now, right?
Yeah, he just left last night.
Yeah, I saw your story about it. Pretty awesome, man. It's really cool.
Yeah, no, I'm so happy for him. He deserves every bit of it. But there's like no story to tell with the climbs, because the announcers are like, oh, like we have no idea how hard this is. No one's ever done it before, and no one's ever going to do it again. Let's make up some random shit as they're on the wall. Like it's really hard to like get people engaged and like psyched on that. It's like not like a world record track and field time or something where there's like
a comparative benchmark
decades or hundreds of years worth of like times and improvement. So like with speed climbing, you have that, and it
Speed
makes it
climbing is benchmark.
easier to be like, oh my god, like what that guy just did or girl just did
that's
is
a world
like
record.
phenomenal.
Like,
yeah,
yeah, that's
so you
a
don't
great
have that with
point.
climbing or sport climbing at least. So
And I'll say like I MC a good amount of comps up here, so hopefully I'll get to shout at you in finals someday. But as the MC, like trying to explain to the crowd what's going on past just the format perspective is really interesting to also when I'm on a live mic so that the other competitors can't hear it, also trying not to give away beta, but explaining like, this is a fiberglass hold, it's eating their chalk. Like, you don't understand how sweaty they are because the lights are on them. Like, all these different things that I think the spectators really want to understand, or like if my mom is watching the live stream, shout out Beta Breakers live streams, but like she doesn't know the difference between like somebody like paddling on fiberglass and like pulling hard on crimps. She just sees like big hold, small hold. What's the difference? Pretty colors for sure. But yeah, like that's a good point to bring up for spectators, like Olympic commentators. Like, what is it that makes this climb so hard for these competitors besides the 4-minute time limit? Because I think the time limit is the thing that people kind of understand, like trying to accomplish this thing in a narrow window. But why is it so hard in that time window?
I don't think people really understand how hard that is to do, though. Like, to get a climb at your limit unseen in 4 minutes is really, really hard. People should try that. Like, I really implore you to go out there and just hop on the climb, even if you tried a project climb, and just hop on it and try to just make it better. Just better one move in 4 minutes.
Yeah, set yourself a 4-minute interval timer and pick 4 boulders. See how you feel after boulder 2.
It's
2
so
to go.
valuable.
Yeah.
I actually had a whole little segment talking about this in a video I'm going to post next week, where I was climbing in Yosemite. But basically what I said was like, I encourage everyone to look at the difference between their flash go and when they send it, and more often than not, like that's your little playbook for what you want to get better at. And 90% of the time, or maybe more even, it's not a strength thing, which is why it's funny to see so many people caught up in like, oh, I need to get stronger and blah 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 blah. It's like, no, like you were already strong enough to do the climb on your first attempt, and it's only taken you 2 months to do it because you're not understanding like the movement, which makes sense because there's no like coaching within climbing for like the general public. But I think it's really fun to look back at those, like that contrast, and it's usually like an accuracy thing in terms of like how you're moving and generating. So like looking at your hips trajectory and looking at the difference there, or how you arrive at the end position and all these different concepts. If you're able to bring attention to that on your first go, like that's what I was doing. And actually this was the, not the first comp, but one of the comps that I thought I did a really good job of like visualizing every single climb to its like fullest extent before I even got on it. And it worked out well, where I was doing everything like in third person and first person, and just like fully doing it in like slow motion and not, and then having like an A and B plan and everything. So it was fun to see that come to fruition.
Nice.
That's awesome, dude. I could ask a million questions about all of your performance goals, and I have a million questions about the coaches that you've worked with over the years. But I do want to like respect your time. I know you've got planes coming up. I always like to give time to talk about sponsors. I want to say Mad Rock is the best shoes in the market right now, and I may or may not have gotten like corporate backlash for getting Mad Rock shoes ordered to our gym like 4 years ago, allegedly.
Allegedly.
We had old school mentalities in our retail department that was like, you mean the ones that made the company that made the Shark 2s, which was also a great anyway. But the like if you want to just kind of plug some sponsors, talk about like your favorite Mad Rock shoes, the other companies that are supporting you right now. I just,
Definitely shout out to Mad Rock. If you're at the comp, hopefully you got to go try on some of the new shoes they have. They're coming out with a bunch more shoes, so I love just working with them as a company, and they're by far one of the most innovative companies out there. That was really subtle. So it's amazing, even just being based in SoCal, and their headquarters are like an hour and a half away from where I live, so it's nice to be able to pop by the HQ and chat with everyone. And they're working on a bunch of cool new designs that I won't spoil, but I love the Drone 2 comp, the CS. I think it's one of the best shoes out there right now. And then the Remora is also really good. It's just like a slip-on. And then the normal Drone, like not the CS, for outdoor stuff is like a weapon, like absolute talons. So like by far the stickiest rubber out there. It's kind of insane how sticky they are just out of the box. And I'll leave it at that.
Cool. Quick shout out to your Mad Rock teammate Austin Hoyt, who got not taken into finals, even though he also had 6 tops.
He was like one attempt off. Yeah, and Kylie's Mad Rock too, so we both took the dub.
Oh yeah, Kylie's Mad Rock.
Yeah, and then Prana has also been an amazing sponsor to work with. So they're coming out with a bunch of cool new clothes on their Originals collection later this month or the next month. And I got to do their whole like campaign for that in LA. So there'll be some fun content. It's actually, the whole campaign is called Flow Radically, which is
perfect.
That's pretty neat. So I know. I was like, did you guys watch some of my videos before coming up with this? And
if
maybe
so,
they did,
pay me more.
That's okay. I need a higher day rate.
Did you ever think when you were like training as a youth competitor that you'd end up being a Prana model or like Sportiva model? Like, was that in your future?
No.
On your vision board?
No, but I do think it's cool to work with companies that are like actually paying and using authentic talent.
Good.
And so that is very valuable.
Yeah.
And it's cool to see Prana getting back to their roots, and they've got a lot of fun stuff in the works. And it's been like such a dream to be able to go climb with Chris and have like that history to fall back on.
Yeah, man, that's so awesome.
Deepwater. Actually, speaking of, are you coming back to New York to defend your title?
I am. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
All right. Yeah, we'll see you there, man.
Yeah.
I don't know when this video will release, but there's
before the comp.
Okay. Yeah. Then we might. My buddy Marco and I, we're both co-founders of Mind to Motion, our coaching collective. But we're gonna do a clinic at BP the Sunday after the comp.
Okay.
That's gonna be August 25th.
And what comp are we talking about?
Yeah.
The Deepwater Solo comp.
Yes. So the North Base Deepwater Solo comp in New York. It's going to be somewhere in Brooklyn. It's next weekend, right?
Yeah. I don't know how clean that river is, but it's worth it.
Just don't fall.
You gotta jump off the top.
So, and you do.
Yeah.
Either way, you're getting diseased.
Yeah. I would keep your mouth closed.
Yes. And clench.
Figure out from the organizers where the nearest shower is. I wouldn't walk around after.
You're not gonna in the water for too long.
You're not gonna like catch a disease. Most of the disgustingness is like in the sediment, so don't go grab sand from the bottom, and you'll be okay.
Good to know.
Yeah.
That's funny.
I try not to eat the sand out of the rivers anymore.
That's a good rule of thumb.
Anything else you'd like to plug? I mean, obviously, if you don't subscribe to Ross on YouTube, you're a fool. If you don't follow him on Instagram, you're a chump. But any other sponsors, things coming up?
What's the new one? What else other than the Seagull Black comp? Like, what else is on the horizon for you?
Yeah, so we got Seagull Block, and then I think I'll do the World Cup in Slovenia, or I was planning on it. I don't know if I'll have a start now because of the whole USA Climbing debacle where they missed signing the athletes up for Briançon. So they might give everyone that did that comp priority for the next one, which would be kind of annoying, but also it's a long way. I was going to do Slovenia and then go to Mallorca for like a month and a half. But then they just announced that Nationals is going to be in early October, which throws everything off. And I could go on a tangent about that, but it just doesn't make sense to have Nationals that far away from team trials, and all your athletes that are competing at World Cups are exhausted. And it just kind of, in my opinion, defeats the purpose of like a Nationals competition if half of the best athletes aren't there, / having to like forego on World Cups to do their domestic competitions that aren't really selecting the best athletes for World Cups anyways. And that's a whole spiral. But
that's another one that I would love to hear the full gambit on, but another time maybe.
We're actually over an hour, like, and I really
that would take us to like 3 hours.
You and I can just vent about USA Climbing sometime.
Yes. I mean, it's growing, and then that's the sport in general. It's still growing, and that's kind of been the word, the term I've been using is the climbing is still young and it's still growing, and there's still a lot of
hard job for sure
right now. So, and a lot of people are doing things from a volunteer standpoint, right? So, not a lot of money flying around in the sport just yet, but I think there's great potential for that in the very near future. So,
for sure. No, I mean, it's amazing to just see how fast climbing is growing, and the energy that's coming into it, and I think that'll only continue to accelerate with the Olympics and everything. Anyways, I'll do Sport World Cup ideally, whether that's Slovenia or maybe in Seoul, and then Mallorca, and then Nationals, and then Mallorca again. So that'll be a good time, and then working on a bunch of some coaching stuff as well to release some more formalized content. So stay tuned for that.
Yeah, definitely excited about that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right. So I think we've taken up enough of your time, Ross. I really appreciate you joining us. And this went well beyond the recap. And so for those of you at home, if you actually enjoyed the way this went, let us know. I mean, everyone, of course, enjoys Ross. But if you want us to do more of this in the future, definitely let us know in the comments. And like Tyler said, definitely check out Ross on Instagram as well as YouTube. I'll drop a couple links to some of the videos that we talked about throughout today's session. So, I mean, or you can just go through his entire channel. He's got like somewhere around like 120 videos. It's not that much. It's light work. So check them all out. Like them all.
Thank you.
And don't forget to subscribe.
Yeah.
And
actually, I think I'll post a video about this Boston comp as well. And I had a really fun session with Jesse Grouper and Katie Lamb and Helen at one of the CRGs after the comp. So there's some fun footage from that session. At the comp?
That's cool. That's right. Because
he's got this other competition or something in Paris to practice for.
Okay, cool.
This other weird thing in Paris.
Right. Most people don't know. Like, I mean, Jesse, he's local. I think he's New Jersey, right?
Yeah, I competed against him in high school. Claim to fame. You know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you once again for your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. And we'll catch you next. The next thing that we're live streaming is unfortunately not Seagull Black because North Face has their own crew. We have Central Rock Gym, Manhattan, or Chelsea. I think it's Chelsea's second annual end of the line competition. They got bumped because North Face
because of the North Face. Yeah,
they scheduled their comp the same weekend, so they got bumped, and we'll be doing that. And we'll also have something on the line for another bouldering project in Brooklyn. They're doing another big comp as well. So I'll add that to the list of live streams. And of course, if you subscribe, you will get notifications and all that anyway. So don't forget to subscribe. All right. So thank you again.
Ross, thank you so much, man.
So much for your time and wisdom. Really great hanging out with you. And to everyone else, we'll catch you guys next time.
Likewise. See you guys.